Hey, Jake.
Yeah?
What kind of bug does a cowboy ride?
What?
A horsefly.
Insert fake laugh sound.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Engage, a family gaming podcast. This is episode 190, and I'm your host, Steven Dutzman. As always, this is the official video game and board game podcast for EngageFamilyGaming.com. EFG is a website where parents like myself and my co-hosts come together to give everyone the information they need to get their family game on. This week, I am joined by the Princess of Power, Amanda Farrow of SuperParent.com and GamesDaily.biz. How are you?
I'm good. I'm alive. I made it.
You're slowly making it through these weeks as the summer trudges on.
It's true.
Neither of your websites are currently on fire, digitally or otherwise.
Which is good.
You're going to play crafting in a week and a half.
I am going to Gen Con next weekend.
Yo, that's true.
It's true,
Okay.
and I'm going to the Fortnite World Cup this weekend.
Do you have a Saturday in your house anytime soon?
No.
No. Okay. So
The answer is resounding and complete, and no.
okay. So, but you're going to the Fortnite World Cup over this weekend,
Yes.
which is going to be cool. Are they going to give you one of those cool purple controllers while you're there?
Who knows?
Hopefully
I'm
they
not really
do.
angling for one, but
I mean,
it'd
those-
be nice if they did.
Those
They are
are
nice.
some really nice purple Xbox controllers, and they come with a free skin. If they do and you don't want the skin, I'll take it.
I know you will.
More
And I
purple
probably
ones.
would give it to
Yeah,
you.
my son
I like
Jacob would take
watching Fortnite more than I like playing it.
I think
so
that's a lot of people that do that. But we could talk about that
we'll
later.
talk about that next week.
We can talk
Let's
about
go.
that next week.
it's-
Well, next week is board games. We're going to be getting ready for Gen Con. Just like you're getting ready for Gen Con.
Damn right.
But this week, we're talking about video games. Specifically, and this is what in the biz, they call this a tease. We're going to be talking about streaming on Mixer, which is a site that people probably haven't heard of, but they should. We're going to talk about a whole bunch of video games. And we're going to talk about a brand new Nintendo Switch that I think is going to sell a bazillion. It's just going to be insane. So we're going to talk about that later. So first, I do want to remind everyone of two things. One, this podcast was produced in partnership with SuperParent.com. That's why Amanda's here.
That and I really like you.
That too. But it's you're here. You're also here to rep your home team, and I love it. So definitely follow Super Parent across all of their social media channels, etc., so that you get their goodness too. They produce a lot of content. Your team is crazy.
Yeah, we do a lot of stuff.
So plug for superparent.com complete. Now I do want to take a moment to thank everybody for listening. We do want to make our podcast as interactive as possible, and we're getting to the part of the year where the topics don't just write themselves. So we'd love you to tell us what to talk about. So you can reach out to us on social media, specifically on Facebook is the best place. So go to engagefamilygaming.com/Facebook or facebook.com/Facebook, because we're fancy, and let us know, what do you want us to talk about? Ask us questions, give us feedback, etc. We will work on all of it. So, I think what we should do before we get into topics is we should probably just go around the horn, because it's been a while since you and I have talked about some good old-fashioned new video games.
Heck yeah.
So why don't you start? Because you've been playing Dragon Quest Builders 2.
I have. I'm so into Dragon Quest Builders 2. I started playing it on Friday. I was home by myself with the kids, so I was like, oh, I'm going to just go hang out and play on the Switch and fall asleep playing Dragon Quest Builders, and that's exactly what I did. I was living the life. So I didn't really get into Dragon Quest Builders, like the first one. I don't know, the story didn't really hook me. But the story in Dragon Quest Builders 2 is set, I think, like 100 years after the first one. So it's like a story about rebellion and being like openly rebellious against religious people, and I'm like,
Sure.
go on. Or we're encouraging me to be a rebel? Okay. Where do I sign? So it's been so much fun though. I love these kinds of games, these kinds of digs and builds games, especially the ones that actually have a story to them. That's why I struggle with Minecraft sometimes, because it's just there's no story, and I don't know what to do. And oh my goodness, Dragon Quest Builders 2 has a great onboarding system. So the way that they teach you all of the various skills that you're going to need, and the way that they do that is just so interesting because you're stuck on this ship and you've been captured by these religious fanatics and you end up making yourself useful as a builder even though building has been outlawed. It's wild. So I really, really am enjoying myself. I've played for a handful of hours at this point. I'm looking forward to getting back into it, I don't know, maybe tonight. We'll see.
Cool.
So yeah, I'm really, really liking Dragon Quest Builders 2, but here's the problem, Steve.
Yeah?
I need you to get the game. We gotta play together.
We just talked about this.
You know, it's true. I'm sorry.
We literally
but also at the same time, hear me out.
We literally just talked about it.
Hear me out.
Okay.
Hear me out. I just really want to play video games with you. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm done.
That is more than fair. I can say this with certainty. Dragon Quest Builders 2 and the next game that you're going to talk about after I take my turn are very likely the next two video games that will be coming into this home. Because I want to play them very desperately. And I also think they are perfect for the EFG audience. And I need to know about them for Game of the Year material, because that's the kind of stuff we're talking about right now. Because this year's weird. This year's weird. When Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 is peeking out from behind the TV going, check me out, I might be your Game of the Year. That's saying some stuff. It just means we're waiting for Breath of the Wild 2. But, okay, so Dragon Quest Builders 2, you're a couple hours in. It looks adorable. It's got multiplayer, that's the big difference between that and the first one. Or arguably one of the biggest differences. Obviously, there are systems differences, too. I mean, and that's one thing that is, when they pitched Dragon Quest Builders as like Minecraft, but with Dragon Quest stuff going on and more of a story, one of the things that I immediately looked for was, where's the cooperative element? Because Minecraft, for a lot of folks, is a cooperative experience. It's them and their buddies running amok, or, them and their little brother or little sister running amok. Now you can do that. Is there couch co-op, or is it only online?
I think it's only online.
Okay.
I don't think that there's a way to do couch co-op. Don't quote me on that, because I haven't tried it yet, because I've only been playing it solo. Mike has been really pushing Marvel Ultimate Alliance, so, that's where I've been.
Guess who does know whether or not it has it? Google.
Is it you? Oh, okay. It's the internet.
Google definitely does.
The internet
I don't.
knows.
The internet definitely knows. Because this is the thing. You can't trust the internet for most things, but this is the kind of thing that you would need. So, alright. You can, if you are playing on Switch, you can play via local wireless, but you need different switches. So it's not local co-op, but you can do local play if you're playing on multiple switches.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So there's that.
So that's pretty much how Marvel Ultimate Alliance works as well.
Okay. Oh, you can't play the same...
You can. No, you definitely can play couch co-op without having two switches, but how Mike and I have been playing it is on two switches, because it's,
Because why not? Why not? Well, why share screens if you don't have to? All right, so we're going to talk about Marvel Ultimate Alliance in a moment. Dragon Quest Builders, so that's Dragon Quest Builders 2. It is out. It's available on Switch, PS4, Xbox. Is it on Xbox?
Is it on Xbox?
The Google knows.
Google knows all.
Well, like I said,
not all.
It's great for things that you don't need to trust. Like nerdy crap. It's perfect. No, it is not on Xbox. It is available on the Switch, and it is available on PlayStation 4. It looks like it's already discounted on the Switch on the Amazon. How good is that? So it's already like $50. Go to work, folks. All right, so I want to talk about a game that's a demo that just came out today. It's on Switch and PS4, and that is the latest game from the Tokyo RPG Factory, and that is an action RPG called Oninaki.
Tell me more.
Okay. I will say it is hella Japanese.
That's a good description.
Yeah.
Also, Dragon Quest Builders 2 is also hella Japanese.
Yeah, I mean, so Oninaki, here's the setup. It's an action RPG where you are. It's actually, while I was playing the setup, Evan was sitting next to me, and he's like, "Are you just playing like Xenoblade Chronicles, Dad? Because like you're meeting people that turn into your weapons." And I was like, "It's a Japanese thing, man." Like, so basically, you are a watcher, and a watcher is someone who is able to, at will, move between the land of the living and the land of the dead. And your job is to help find spirits who are lost and help bring them peace. Because if they are lost, they can't go to the afterlife, and if they don't go to the afterlife, that means they can't reincarnate. So it's very important that you help these lost souls go.
Okay.
One of the ways you do that is you bring them to, like, for example, like in the opening minutes of the game, you bring a lost child to his parents, and you can give that, as long as the lost person is standing near a watcher, they can talk to people, and they can, like, communicate with the, they can communicate with, the living, and this game's a little dark. It's rated T for teen. At the end of the day, it's just a generic action RPG.
I like dark.
In the opening, I mean, there's no blood. There's no, there's nothing like that. However, in the opening segment that's part of this demo, you have to go find a lost boy, and then you bring him back to his parents, and then he decides that he doesn't want to be he decides he doesn't want to be alone, and he tells his parents that. And they come up with a very creative solution for him not being alone. If you follow.
Okay.
They have the watcher
I
guide.
do follow.
Yeah. So I was like, whoa. Now, in this world, everyone is reincarnated as long as you're no longer lost. So, to a degree, it's kind of like a whatever. Like, I guess call a mulligan on this one. I don't know. So, with that said, some of the spirits become demons.
Okay.
Spelled Daemon. So, like, they become daemons, and then they host GameScoop. And so that was a very deep cut. But it was funny.
That was a lot.
So,
That's good, though.
So they have no memory. They're lost spirits that have no memories, and they have, but they're not truly lost, and these are your weapons. So you will occasionally find them. So you start with a spirit who is your sword, and then you find a spirit who is your spear, and then there's a spirit who happens to be guns, and one's a boomerang and a bow and arrow, etc. You can equip 4 of them at a time, eventually, and you can change between them. They all have weird combo attacks and very anime power moves. This is just a crazy JRPG action thing. I think the art style is very cool. I'm
going to have to look it up.
Yeah, you should. I think it's pretty in a, in a very minimalist way. You know what it really...
I like that, though.
I appreciated it. I think this has the chance to be the best game Tokyo RPG Factory has ever made.
That's awesome. I loved Setsuna, even though, I am Setsuna, even though it wasn't a great game. It was at least impactful.
Tokyo RPG Factory is awesome at making 7s. They just always putting out 7s. And I think this one could be like a 7.5 or a 7.8, right? Like, it's one of those...
That's pretty good.
Like, this is... I agree, and I don't mean that... Like, I played it, I enjoyed the demo portion of it. There's a demo that's available on Switch and PS4 where your progress will actually carry through. So you get to keep your progress.
Tokyo RPG Factory is great for that.
Yeah.
Because the game that they did after Setsuna...
I forget what... Lost Sphere.
Lost Sphere, that's what it was. I ended up playing that demo just in case I ended up purchasing Lost Sphere. I didn't end up doing it because I didn't care for the demo.
Yeah, I didn't particularly care for that one either. But I Am Setsuna was just, like, trying to be Chrono Trigger.
I know.
But, like, I think that's the problem, is it tried to be Chrono Trigger. Like, really,
I know.
bro, you're never going to be Chrono
Yeah,
Trigger. But,
no one's going to be Chrono Trigger, except for Chrono Trigger.
yeah, I actually have a whole episode of my podcast where I talk about it with my cousin Peter Brown from GameSpot, because he was not a fan.
Oh.
Yeah, he was not a fan. Chrono Trigger is one of his favorite games of all time. It's not Final Fantasy Tactics, his favorite game of all time, but it's in there. So, and he and I are kind of in the same spot, is that they're really good at just putting out good stuff, but they're not putting out Game of the Year containers.
But it's not amazing.
Yeah, exactly. And I really feel like this is one of those games that's just going to be in there. The difference is, rather than a bunch of turn-based games like what they made before, this one's an action RPG. So I think it'll be a little bit more accessible. I really enjoyed it. I think this is one of those games that's really going to resonate. This is going to resonate with a lot of folks.
That's awesome.
So, yeah, so that's Oninaki. There's a demo available literally right now. So when you're listening to this, if you've got some free time, I played for about an hour. Yeah, you should definitely turn around and tell someone to download it so that you can play it later. So that's it. That's Oninaki. Like I said, it's a demo out right now.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. I'm definitely going to download that because that sounds so very much up my alley.
Yeah, and for $0, the demo is absolutely amazing.
That's great, man.
So you also, you've talked about it. I was dreading talking about it because of pure jealousy. But you've been talking about Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3. You have been playing that.
I have.
Tell me a story.
Well, so Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 is a very interesting game to play co-op. I haven't played much single player. The single player is, well, I mean, I played it at E3, and it was really solid. It was a great demo at E3. I loved it. Really enjoyed playing Captain Marvel. The traversal and flight or whatever is a little janky, but it still works.
Okay.
And Carol is a cool character to play as. So I liked the single player stuff I saw at E3, and we, picked it up and started it from the beginning, obviously, just a couple days ago, and Mike and I have been playing co-op on 2 Switches. So we've been playing local co-op.
Okay.
And, the game encourages you to build a varied, robust team, just like they have in previous games, so you get bonuses based on who you have in your team.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the biggest drawbacks for co-op is that I can only control, if I am playing as the co-op, if I'm invited or I join Mike's game, I can only play as one character, versus Mike can play the other 3 characters because it's his game.
Okay.
That was one of the weirder things going on there. So we had to do some finagling to make that work so I could play the character I wanted to play and everything like that. So we're not very far in yet. We're only maybe an hour and a half into the game, but combat is really satisfying. Make sure you don't use heroic camera mode in multiplayer at all, because it just breaks. Where you can't see your characters whatsoever if you're playing on 2 Switches. It's just nightmarish.
Huh.
But yeah, I like it so far. I think it's solid. Okay. I'm not seeing any frame rate drops. I'm not seeing some of the lag issues or whatever that some other critics have been talking about. I've been keeping my eyes peeled for it.
Okay.
But yeah, it's an Ultimate Alliance game, and it's on Switch, and I couldn't be happier about it. That's really what this comes down to. Just more. Need more. More time.
Yeah. I mean, so the original Ultimate Alliance games were so stupid, right? In all the best ways. Yeah, exactly. They were stupid in a very Steven Dutzman way. Because I love really dumb games where you put together team-ups of really just janky shenanigans. And the thing that I really appreciate is, number one, this game has the biggest roster in the history of the Ultimate Alliance franchise.
Does.
And also, this is Marvel Ultimate Alliance coming out when there's DLC. Like, we live in a games as service environment where you could just keep adding heroes and levels and challenges ad infinitum. And story, etc. And these are comic books, and we all know, like, if the movies have proved anything, they can just get dumb. Welcome, and if you don't know what I mean, just watch the Hall H panel, and you'll understand that Marvel can just literally do whatever they want, and everyone's going to be real excited.
Yeah.
Myself included.
That was so much hype, and I was so living for it at the same time.
Exactly. And they can just do whatever they want. I mean, pretty much as soon as they released a movie with a talking raccoon. Like, everything was over. And so, Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 is out right now. One thing that is worth mentioning is it does have a season pass. It's $20. It includes 3 packs of 4 characters. So far, they have announced the first wave, and you can't buy them separately. So the first wave is the Marvel Knights, and that is Moon Knight, Punisher, Blade, and Morbius the Living Vampire. So these are the edgy heroes. And Moon Knight. Although, I think Moon Knight counts as edgy. And also, on August 31st, which is very important to me, Colossus and Cyclops are coming as a free update.
Free updates! You don't have to pay for them!
I mean, listen, if they told me that it was an extra $50 to get Cyclops, I probably would have done it. I just would have done it without telling my wife, probably, because she would get mad. But, you know, Cyclops, he's important to me. And of course I would have told my wife, guys, she listens to the podcast. So Cyclops and Colossus are coming. I think that's a great pairing to just be like, here, have these 2 iconic X-Men characters. It's a little weird that Cyclops was not in the main roster. I'm sure they had a reason. This feels like they were 2 guys that just kind of got balanced out towards the end, and they were like, we got to make this game, so we'll just give you guys these 2 for free. It's fine. Because eventually you got to make the game and put it out.
Gotta ship.
Exactly. And then, so the other 2 packs are X-Men, which are characters that are not Cyclops and Colossus, which I had kind of assumed were going to be in there when they didn't make the main roster. And the other one, is it the Fantastic Four?
I think so.
Let's look, because I'm curious.
To the internet.
Yeah, the internet will tell us. Yeah, let's see. I mean, it's $20 for the expansion pass, but okay. Okay, yeah. The 3 packs are the X-Men, the Fantastic Four, and Marvel Knights. So my guess is the Fantastic Four will be the Fantastic Four. And the X-Men are currently unannounced, but the Marvel Knights is it's actually a full DLC pack called Marvel Knights Curse of the Vampire. And so it's going to include story stuff and other shenanigans, and vampire stuff. Half of that team is vampires. So, and then there's the Punisher. I think this is one of those games that's going to stick around for a while, and I would not be surprised if they did a season 2. Because there's so many heroes.
I agree.
So that is Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3. Alright. So I'm going to do some quick hits, some video games that I played while I was a judge at the Connecticut Festival of Independent Games.
I'm very excited about this.
Okay. So, I played a bunch of games. And you know what? I have a list. So, the first game that I played was, and the only thing that, here's the frustrating thing about going to like CT Fig or Boston Fig, is that sometimes you run into student projects that like...
Those can be fun, though.
Hold, please. You run into student projects that are... you run into student projects that are absolutely 100% put this on iPad and make $2 million. I'm... Like, sometimes you run into stuff that is like, no, for real, you should market this. And they're like, nah, I'm just going to put it up on itch. and or it's going to be a web-based game, and I'm going to accept donations. And I was like, but dude, can I?
But damn.
And I'd be like, man, I wish I had no ethics, because I would totally just publish this for you. Because on iOS, publishing it would cost me a couple $100. So this game, the game that I'm talking about now is a game called Lite. You can look at it now. There's actually a demo. If you go to d-mahal, MAHAL, .github.io, you can play it right now. They have a free version. Basically, Lite is a puzzle game where you move. It's on a grid, and you move colored squares through the grid, and you have to navigate the various squares to the end point. And they each have an end point. You have to get them there without them being sucked into space or falling into pits, etc. So this is a very simple puzzle. Here's the trick. It gives you no instructions, and the only feedback that you get is that eventually the puzzle becomes impossible, and you have to hit a reset button. That's it. It's playable on mobile with swipe controls. Also, it's playable on just web with keyboard with the directional keyboard, and then you can use the space bar to reset the puzzle. I said to this man, "Sir, this game is very good. You should put this on iPad and Switch, and you will make many dollars." And he's like, "Well, I really was just going to put it up as a web game on itch." And I said, "Okay. I'm not here to tell you what to do, but
at the same time, hear me out."
But hear me out. Money. And so I thought it was great. It was actually my pick for the show. It didn't win, but it was my vote for game of the show for digital games, because it is so clean. It's so cool. I do not like puzzle games generally because I am stupid. And so usually I get the puzzles and I'll hand the controller to my wife, or I'll hand it to my kids. Some of the temples in Breath of the Wild really broke my head. This is perfect for me. I really, really liked it. I looked at him so every time I would get to a new level, I would look at it and I would look around at him and I would give him this face the hell are you doing, man? This is so rude. But I would figure it out.
Got it.
So that's a like. Very good. Again, I'm gonna put the in the show notes, because we have those now. I'm gonna put the link. So the next game that I played is Cloak and Dasher. Cloak and Dasher is a 8-bit style platformer that is, it's like Super Meat Boy, but with a Shovel Knight palette. I liked it well enough, but it really just made me want to play Meat Boy.
Okay, that's fair.
And that's it. It was cool. It was, a lot of folks really liked it. Rob from Pawn's Perspective, he absolutely loved Cloak and Dasher. So it's just, for me, I actually got a little frustrated with it, just because a lot of the levels were all single screen. So it was you were traversing, but a lot of them forced you to go all the way around the screen. So you start on at 9 o'clock and you have to get all the way to 8 o'clock and then go all the way back, all the way around again, and dealing with the obstacles, which are slightly different now because you're coming at them from a different direction, and it had no checkpointing, and some of the mechanics were a little not fair.
Okay.
So I finished the demo, which, I was one of, I guess at the end of it, only 25% of people were completing the demo in time. So, I did it, but it just made me want to play Meat Boy.
That's fair.
Next is Depths of Sanity, which I'm sure you've actually seen before. It's the submarine Metroidvania that has been at all the different PAXs, and it was at GDC. It's coming to Xbox One, PS4, and Switch next year. I thought the game was pretty cool. it beat my head in a little bit because it was kind of hard. I really appreciated the way they animated the submarine, because one of the things they have added recently is that as you rotate the submarine around in a circle, it actually kind of spins. So it is so the graphic, rather than it just rotating in a circle, it kind of rotates so that, you know, at one point during its rotation, you can kind of see the bottom of the ship, and then another, you can see the top of it, and so it's doing like this 8-point kind of rotation while it turns, which is kind of neat, and the monsters are doing it too. So it's actually really cool looking. Depths of Sanity. It was really interesting, the demo I played, because I played in the first biome, but I fought the boss that was for, like, level 4. So like, I didn't really get a full picture of what the game will, like, play like as far as finding new powers, but it is a straight-up Metroidvania. Eventually you get a drill, so you can go back to the very beginning and start drilling through stuff. It's cool. It's kind of neat.
That's awesome.
The controls control like a submarine. So if they're a little floatier, you know what it really reminded me of? Did you play a little bit of Song of the Deep? That GameStop published joint? Kind of controlled like that.
Okay.
So the next game that we played, or that I played, was a game called Feral Frontier. Now this game is one that we might see eventually.
Okay.
And I hope we do, because the bones are amazing. It's a Metroidvania, like 16-bit. You're a fox that runs around, kind of, you know, 16-bit platformer. But here's the shtick: you can climb everything.
Okay.
Everything. So at some points, he described that sometimes you can just, if you're falling, you can take a leap of faith and hold the grip button, and you'll catch ceilings, walls, corners, and then you can try and recover from there.
Okay.
And he didn't tell me that until like 3/4 of the way through my demo, and I was like, dude, no, you gotta, this is the coolest part of the game. Because it's like Super Metroid, only you can climb all the walls.
Yeah, it's pretty rad.
Which was awesome. And then there's lots of movement that is very speedrunner. Like, very open-ended. My only real challenges with this game are, this dude is going to overscope the heck out of it, so he needs a publisher to be like, bro, no.
You gotta chill.
Yes. Also, he was very enthusiastic.
Okay.
But I could not hear the music because he was talking the whole time.
Oh no!
But it was so. But this is clear. This was one of my favorite games that I played because
That's awesome.
was super neat, super cool. I liked the way the character looked. It had like this cool like blue poncho thing. It was kind of like a cape. Yeah. So it's super rad. So that's called Feral Frontier. This is one of those games that in a couple of years I'm going to talk about it again and be like, Amanda, you remember that thing? And you're going to be like, no. And
you're probably right. You're
and
right.
It's going to be
right.
like King of the Hat. It's going to be one of those things where like I really
King of the
really
Hat
loved
is
it.
Awesome though.
Yes. I almost had them convinced to rename the washing machine Steve, by the way. The King of the Hat guys. I really hope they do.
Okay.
But so it's one of those things where I found King of the Hat at BFIG and championed it forever. Not like I was their only guy. But and then all of a sudden it's like out and everybody knows it and wants to play it. This is going to be one of those things where I'm going to see it and it's going to be, I'm going to remind you and be like, I found this game first. I loved it first. All right, so next is a game called Soul Commander. This is a top-down space strategy game where you have ships, and the best way that I can describe it is that it is like a digital version of X-Wing.
Okay.
That's it. It's digital X-Wing. It's like
cool.
Digital. Yes, it is digital X-Wing meets like Frozen Synapse. So it's like real-time turn-based strategy, but with spaceships where you're kind of flowing. You got to fly through meteors and asteroids, and you're dog fighting. It's kind of cool. It definitely needs like a UI pass and better controls, the things that you need
you.
to take a game from demo mode to full release. But this is going to be one of those games that I'm really looking forward to playing. And it's made by two dudes. One of them lives in Hong Kong, and one of them lives in, like, Wethersfield, Connecticut.
That's rad.
And I'm like, when do you get to talk? Because, like, damn. And lastly, I'm going to talk about Where Shadows Slumber. Now, tell me that name doesn't just scream your aesthetic.
Go on.
Okay, it's a mobile game.
Okay, that's cool. I'm in.
Yeah, I know. You know who I really have been trying to pitch this game to pretty hard is Susan Arndt.
Really?
Yes, because
she does love her mobile games.
She loves obnoxious and dark mobile puzzle games. That's like her jam. So this is Where Shadows Slumber. Picture, because this one is not for the kids. The guy Frank, I've known him for a while. Because I've run into him at like BFIG and other shows. He actually designed a board game called Mr. Game. And it didn't do super well, so now he makes mobile games. So Where Shadows Slumber, picture Monument Valley style game, tap to move, and the idea is you're holding a lantern, and there are obstacles within the room that when you move if you move behind it with a lantern, obviously it creates shadows on the opposite sides of these things, and when you put shadows in certain places, they may make a bridge appear because shadows went over it. So the idea is you need to move around the area, manipulate the light, and create shadows because Where Shadows Slumber are the solutions to your puzzles. It is pretty rad. I enjoyed it. I've played it a bunch of times. And so yeah, and it's pretty. It's been out for a while. One of the advantages, it is a premium mobile title.
Oh, awesome.
So no in-app purchases, none of that stuff. It's just a premium mobile title.
She says as she grabs her phone.
She says as she grabs her phone. So that's Where Shadows Slumber. So those were the nominees for Digital Game of the Show at CT Fig. The winner was Cloak and Dasher. That was not my pick. However, I can understand why. The controls were very sound. I was just... Some of the dash mechanic I did not like. It just made me want to play Meat Boy. With that said, this game is going to come to Switch next year. So 8-bit platformers coming to the Switch.
It's going to print money.
So that's good. So yeah, that was CT Fig. I think that's
cool.
I think that's our games, yo. Did you play anything else?
I think that's our games. I played Sea of Solitude.
What'd you think?
I'm going to be writing a full review of it for Prima Games.
So let's chat about that after your review so we can link to it in our newly designed show notes.
Exactly.
All right. So how about let's take a break, and then we'll come back, and then we're going to talk about news.
Yeah.
All right, folks. We'll be back in a minute. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Engage, a family gaming podcast. It's still Steven, it's still Amanda, it's still episode 190, and we're still talking about video games. So, before the break, we talked about a bunch of video games, which is something that Amanda and I don't get to do nearly as often as we should, because sometimes we're too busy to play games. But one thing we are not too busy to do is pontificate about video game news. So let's start by talking about Nintendo announcing a new console.
I mean, holy crap.
So you are the person who literally runs the news site. So, not just a news site, the news site. So, tell us the news about the new Nintendo console.
Alright, so the new Nintendo console, the Lite, it's handheld only. It's supposed to be coming in September. It trimmed a couple of features, so there's no longer HD rumble, so you're not going to get that very annoying / satisfying rumble when you hit something in a game.
True.
And there's no TV output. So those features are gone. So this is handheld only. This is what analysts are saying is going to be the replacement for the 3DS, or the 2DS, I suppose. Because there are no games that are really coming out on the 2DS. at all anymore.
True.
So this is going to end up being that. It's going to end up satisfying those folks.
Yep.
We ended up calling it the Swon't because it doesn't actually switch. Doesn't switch from the television.
You guys are so clever. Yeah, it is
that
weird,
was a mic
right?
thing, so
yeah, that definitely sounds like a mic thing.
It was a mic thing.
So to fill in some of the blanks.
Because I have more. We can keep talking.
Yeah. So it's $200. I think that's the real key. It's trimming some features, but it's $200.
And $200 for a handheld console is still fairly steep. If we take a look at what the pricing looks like for a 3DS, I mean, you can get a 3DS for, I don't know, $100 maybe, or a 2DS for $120. It's not that expensive, but for an extra $70 or $80, you're able to pick yourself up a fairly decent Switch. But the problem is that there are going to be titles that are going to require docked mode potentially, and there's going to be a weird split in the development community for Switch. There are going to become Switch only, like Switch mobile only games or Switch mobile focused games.
Sure.
And that's interesting, but I don't know how that's going to play out over the long term. So, I mean, it's got some interest. It's interesting. I mean, what we've been hearing from analysts is the Switch is set up to be the best selling console of 2019, and Nintendo has shipped, like in their last fiscal year, they shipped 17 million units. Mm-hmm. Which is a lot.
A lot. Mm-hmm.
They had a target of 20, which was like way too optimistic.
That was inappropriate.
It was
projections.
totes and approps. It was totes and approps. But they tried. So the cool thing about the Switch Lite is that it's going to be coming out just before holiday season. It's going to be coming out before Pokemon Sword and Shield. It's going to be coming out before Animal Crossing. And I think that that's going to end up being the real Switch Lite console sellers. Is I wanted this to be just a mobile device. I don't care if I can't output it to my television. I want a decent battery life. I want to be able to take it on the go with me. I don't care about docking it. You still dock it to charge it, but you can also use just a regular USB-C cable. So
yeah. So I can understand, and I'm sensing a healthy amount of skepticism.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to counterpoint because I'm a living hype monster.
It's true. And that's the best thing. I love it.
So here is what I think this is. And so you're right. It's $200, which is pricey now.
Yes.
But what I'm doing is thinking back to the 3DS XL at its peak, where the 3DS XL was cleaning up every holiday.
Yeah, you're right.
And it was $200. So
that's fair.
I think with that said, I think there's room to be skeptical and understanding that this thing's going to sell a bazillion units. Because I think that that it just because it sells a lot doesn't mean that it's great long term. And I agree that it will have an impact on the development community. They're going to have to figure some stuff out. And I'm sure they are figuring that out as we speak.
Right.
But this thing is, at a $200 price point, this is a situation where, I can definitely see families saying, you know what, we can get two. Because it's only $100 more than a regular Switch.
Yeah.
And I say only, obviously, the standard EFG caveats apply. These are high-end luxury entertainment items. We encourage feeding our children before buying them video games. But when we get into the point where you can afford these types of things, a second, buying one Switch is $300. Buying two Switch Lites is $400, which is more palatable than two regular Switches. I say that as a family that has two regular Switches in it, right? Yeah, exactly. You know the pain.
I do.
So, and we've talked about this already. We actually already had like a family meeting talking about how, yeah, we're going to have to get one of these, or at least another Switch, before Animal Crossing.
Yep.
Because we have 3 children who
Sure.
all like that game. And my God, I don't want to deal with those arguments.
That's fair.
So I think that the $200 price point is right where it needed to be. I think if it was if it was a little bit more, it might have been a problem. Yeah, I am confident that this is going to be fine. I think it's funny that Nintendo has said that has come out on record as saying that this is not replacing the 3DS. When, like, come on, guys. Come on. The last game you guys published for it was what, like Kirby's Epic Yarn, like.
Yeah.
And that's a Wii port. By all means, don't tell people not to buy the 3. Like, this year is going to be a great year to buy a 3DS because there's going to be awesome sales on them, and the library is. The library for a 3DS is arguably as good, if not better, than any library for any game console ever. If for nothing else, because you can play both DS and 3DS games on it. That's like literally all of the Pokemon. So like, it's still a great system. So by all means, like, don't throw it in the trash. But come on, guys, the technology, the future marches on. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
So it comes out September 30th. Right now it has 3 really ugly colors. A turquoise, a banana yellow, and
The turquoise
gray.
is nice.
Okay, the turquoise is nice, but I think GameCube blue, it feels like a miss to not make a GameCube blue, an NES gray, and a Nintendo 64 banana, like neon green or something like that. Like, these just feel like really safe colors. The banana yellow is probably that one's fine, but like turquoise, I don't know. How about no purple? The no purple is what bothers me. And I know I'm wearing a purple shirt today, so like maybe that's just it.
Bothers me too. Hello, also wearing a purple shirt.
Yeah, so it's like,
I hear ya. I hear ya.
It just feels odd. The choices feel odd, but obviously they're going to put out a million colors.
Yeah.
And and there's a Pokemon version coming out a little bit before Pokemon does. A special edition that's going to have the 2 legendaries on the back, and then cyan and magenta buttons. So that one looks kind of cool. I'm just waiting for the Metroid one. Or the inevitable Link one when Breath of the Wild 2 comes out, because that's really where we're living right now. So
that's where you're living right now.
That's where, yes, that is where I'm living. So you're right. I don't want to make assumptions, but yeah, this is gonna sell like crazy.
Oh yeah, hotcakes.
And it's coming out right before Pokemon. Oh my God, I can't wait to read these sales numbers. It's gonna be bananas. The guys, the folks over at NPD have got to be really excited, like just pre-making their charts with like giant spikes in September. So that's the Nintendo Switch Lite. It's cool. We're going to have more news about those as we get closer to launch, I am sure. But one thing that is interesting about those is the Joy-Cons don't come off. They are fixed. And speaking of Joy-Cons, there's been a little bit of a controversy, or as they say across the pond, a controversy about Joy-Cons and how they have been drifting.
Yes.
So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, I don't know. I don't think I've experienced any of the Joy-Con drift on any of my Joy-Cons, but I know of non-zero. I know that it's a non-zero number of people that have been experiencing it, and it's definitely starting to pick up speed in terms of mainstream gaming articles starting to pick this up. So the long and short of it is that there's a class action lawsuit that's been filed by a person in Seattle. It looks like, I think it's in Seattle. In the U.S. District Court for the Western District of Washington at Seattle. So it alleges that a number of Nintendo Switch owners are experiencing drifting with the Joy-Con controllers, which means that the movements are being registered in games when the analog sticks are left untouched. And if the drifting gets bad enough, it can render a Joy-Con practically useless.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of people that are speaking out about this. Um, there was some significant outcry in response to this lawsuit being reported, and we reported on it. At Game Daily, I think on Friday.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, so we reported on it on Friday, and everybody started picking it up over the weekend. So what they're doing now, however, is they came back with another response, because the initial response that they gave to us, to Kotaku, to a number of other sites was just kind of like a really gross corporate response.
Yeah, it was definitely a non-answer at best.
Yeah, it was.
At best it was a non-answer.
Yeah, it was basically a non-answer. It was a really, really frustrating. Yeah, it was really, really frustrating.
Yeah, I think that's a more accurate description, right? Calling it frustrating. Like, we're used to non-answers from companies. Right?
I am.
Like, we're used to it, but this was not. This was like, come on, guys.
Yeah, but as a consumer, I mean, as a business writer, I understand to a certain extent that you aren't going to be able to give the best responses all the time, even if you want to. But as a consumer, I deserve better.
Yeah.
So the outcry has created, some critical mass, such that on Vice today, there was an internal Nintendo memo that is instructing customer service to fix the Joy-Con drift for free, which is great.
Yeah. I was just about to bring that up because somebody sent it to me a few minutes ago. You're reading Klepek's thing, right?
Yeah, I read Klepek's thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the right call. Assuming it is true, which I think it is, it makes sense. If I were in charge of their call center, that's what I'd do. Mm-hmm. Just get it fixed. Like, at all costs, do it for free, right? Like, do the software updates, see if you can get them to, do the what's the word? Recalibrate. Yeah. But then at the end of the day, if it's busted, you can't let these things go without getting fixed. So, assuming that memo is actually accurate, that's a pretty good answer to this particular problem. Because it's only going to get worse. We have 2 Joy-Cons that are drifting.
That are drifty?
Yeah, very drifty. I thought it was our Fortnite playing 10-year-old that was doing it. And so I guess I owe him an apology. Because this is a kind of industry-wide problem. And there's plenty of evidence. Like at this point, people can't say... There are a lot of folks on the internet that are like, oh no, you're just imagining things. But no, there's video evidence that they're drifting. Characters walking with the controller like on the table and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. It's disappointing. I mean, it happens, right? Like, these are pieces of equipment, but,
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So, yeah, I guess I'm sure both of our sites will be reporting on some of the details once they become a little bit more confirmed. But for the most part, if you got drifty Joy-Cons, contact Nintendo customer service and see what happens. Because if they're replacing them at no cost, you may as well get some new Joy-Cons.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, no reason not to. So that's the Joy-Con drifting problem. So my first recommendation is, if you are experiencing that problem, like if your kids are saying that the controller is moving and they're not touching it, or it's making it really hard to aim in Fortnite or something like that, just Google Joy-Con calibration. It'll give you instructions how to get into the memos. I would encourage you to do, menus. I would encourage you to do that first. And then if that doesn't work, then, call Nintendo customer service. Save yourself the hassle. Because for a lot of folks, recalibrating occasionally is necessary, and that's the fix. And it's really easy. It'll take you 2 minutes. I've done it a few times.
Yeah, it doesn't take very long.
Yeah, it's nice and easy, nice and quick, costs you 0 time. You don't even have to talk to another human being. Just Google it up. I might even write some instructions. As an experienced technical writer, perhaps I will do that over the weekend. So that's the not fun news, that people have busted equipment. Let's talk about something that is fun, and that is Mixer. Mixer is a streaming alternative to Twitch and YouTube that is owned by Microsoft, and it looks like they're trying to come up with some interesting ways to set themselves apart from their more toxic neighbors. And Amanda, you interviewed someone at Mixer themselves to talk about some of their new changes.
I did.
So,
I did.
tell me about it.
I didn't just talk to a someone. I talked to two someones.
Whoa.
Yeah, I talked to Chad Gibson, who is the general manager at Mixer, and I talked to Jen McCoy, who is Mixer's director of marketing.
Okay.
So, yeah. So I think that what Mixer is doing is really special. And I've been exclusively streaming on Mixer back when I did Ready Player Mom, and I haven't had a chance to do Ready Player Mom for Super Parent now since April, March?
You've been very busy.
Yes, because I've been incredibly busy now doing 3 jobs in the span of 8 hours / 10 hours a day.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I had a conversation with Chad and Jen yesterday to talk about some of the changes that they were going to be implementing on Mixer over the next 6 months. And I had a similar conversation with them last year to talk about some of the season 2 changes. So the interesting changes that they've been doing include features that will nurture new streamers. They will help mitigate streamer safety. You can be, as a viewer, you can report streamers for inappropriate content with just a click of a button. There will be a system put in place to review streamers who are new to the platform, improve software for moderation, and a commitment to knowledge sharing with others in the industry, which is entirely Microsoft's jam right now. They are all about knowledge share. So I think the biggest thing for our audience, as they're understanding how streaming works, let's say if your kid wants to start streaming and they're a teenager, what they're doing is they are creating, through both their new code of conduct, which expressly prohibits the distribution of terrorist and violent extremist content, which is, more than what Twitch is doing, and it's definitely more than what YouTube is doing. Your channels are going to be able to be individually moderated. So you can set up parameters that will allow channel owners, so let's say, Grace my daughter wanted to start streaming. She would be able to control what type of chat is allowed and what kind of terms are allowed. And you can already do that with Catbot on Mixer, and that's available for every streamer to use. But they're allowing channels to have certain rules for user types, essentially. So if you're a brand new user and if you're a brand new audience for a particular streamer, that streamer can now limit you to what you are allowed to say. So maybe you're only allowed to say hello, and you just have to hang out and chat, and you only have access to saying these particular things, and that's it. And then if you stay longer, there will be different rules that channel owners can apply to you so that you can have different kinds of interactions. So they're also they're implementing a streamer review system, which is going to go live at the end of August to help deter toxic streamers before they take root in Mixer's ecosystem. Mm-hmm. So Chad said, any new streamers that want to come to Mixer are going to have to use their Microsoft account, which is already the case. You do need to use your Microsoft account. And that's going to help with any burner accounts that might be set up. As part of the streamer review system, Mixer is also going to have users go through and understand what it means to stream on Mixer, the things that Mixer stands for, mm-hmm. and provide that additional additional screening so that, you can get onboarded relatively quickly if you want to stream on Mixer, but you have to adhere to their community rules.
Which is awesome.
It's amazing. Community health is the backbone of what is keeping Mixer competitive. They are they are not there yet. Twitch is by far the dominant force in streaming. They've long eclipsed YouTube gaming and YouTube Live, and there are no stats available for Facebook Live at this point, especially from a gaming perspective. But they're also allowing any streamer that is on the platform to monetize before they become Mixer partners. So you can implement Mixer Embers, which is their paid currency, and users can spend Mixer Embers to have certain privileges on certain streams. depending on whether or not that streamer has Mixer Embers enabled. It's really interesting. It is like a stepping stone for monetization before you become a partner. And they're going to be pulling together a streamer progression dashboard so that streamers that are new to the platform and are like, what do I have to do in order to become partnered at Mixer? Well, they're pulling back the curtain and they're giving you like a series of steps that you need to take, and what do your statistics look like, and here's what you can do better, and here's what we recommend. So, and on top of that, they're giving better moderation tools to individual channel moderators. They're implementing better moderation tools across Mixer to help professional moderators completely remove that terrible content before it even hits a user's eyes. They're launching Mixer Academy, which is going to be a learning system that's helping that's supposed to help streamers grow their skills. Mm-hmm. It's going to focus on areas like audience engagement, branding, monetization, and networking. There's also going to be a learning path for moderators. It's enormous. Yeah. Like, this is turning Mixer from a scrappy little platform that could, because it used to be known as Beam.io. That's what I used to use it as. Mm-hmm. And then when Microsoft bought it, they kind of struggled to find their footing to begin with. Well, now they stand for community. Community first, community always. Mm-hmm. And this is their way to reaffirm that to the community. And in a Twitch-centric world, they need every competitive advantage that they can get. And if I were a brand new streamer, I'm not going to go and start a stream on Twitch where I'm going to be drowned out. I'm going to go to Mixer where, I'm going to be supported by a great team.
Yeah.
And I mean, let's call bias a bias here. Absolutely unbiased, because I love Mixer. I stream on Mixer.
Yeah.
And that's what I recommend other people to stream on too.
Well,
because it's just such a pleasant platform.
I can say firsthand, every time I have streamed on Twitch, I've actually had a pretty negative experience with it. I have a pretty okay experience with Facebook, mm-hmm. which is where we do the bulk of our streaming, and will likely continue. But one of the big differences in all the stuff that you described, and the theme that I want to point out is, when they talk about improving their community, it's not all about users, and like toxic chat and things like that. Obviously, that is a problem. But one of the things that they talk about that Twitch doesn't, that YouTube doesn't, is getting rid of creators that are also part of the problem. Yep. And that's a big issue on Twitch, is that a lot of and same thing with YouTube, a lot of their most prolific creators are really problematic.
And it's true. And I touch on that in my story.
Yeah. Which is linked in the show notes, by the way. It's one of those, they're actually fixing it from the beginning, right? Like, good people attract good people. That's just how it works. And that's certainly possible, right? I follow, the Mommy Gamers. Marsha Morgan is a streamer on Twitch, and I follow her, and her community is great, and she is great. And, you can certainly build a community of positivity on Twitch.
And Marsha's great too. I mean, she's such a lovely person.
It doesn't hurt that she is great. Yes. And she was able to do that kind of against all odds. However, Mixer, they're working to try and get rid of some of the other folks that are just before they even get started and are hard to remove. And I think that is such a good thing. So that's Mixer. It's spelled just like you think it is. But follow the link in the show notes, and you'll read Amanda's story, because it really kind of gives a lot of information about what they're trying to do and how they're trying to improve it. And you can kind of make a decision there as to whether or not that's the kind of atmosphere either you would want to be a part of, or maybe that's where you want your kids to watch. That was a lot of video game stuff, Amanda.
That was a lot of video game stuff, and I'm pretty excited about it.
Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff we talked about today. And with that said, that was episode 190
Nailed
of
it.
Engage, a family gaming podcast. We're getting very close to 200, my friend.
I'm
we're gonna have to throw a pretty crazy party.
Party.
So, folks, next week, Amanda and I will be back with Linda to talk about the board games that she played at Connecticut Fig, because she was a judge there in the board game area. And we will be talking all about Gen Con. So I hope you have a great week. We will talk to you soon. And until next time, don't forget to get your family game on. We'll see you soon, folks. Bye now.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Engage, a family gaming podcast.
Thank you for listening. Tune in next week.